The opportunities of the Kenya grasslands. As the sun begins to sink below the western horizon, the Masai Mara grasslands take on a different hue. No more harsh light filtering through the dust clouds, no more intense chases between cheetahs and antelopes. It is the time for smaller, more subtle predators, those that rely not on strength but on agility and intelligence. And one such species is the black-backed jackal. The black-backed jackal is a carnivore in the family Canidae, widely distributed across eastern and southern Africa. With an average weight of only 8 to 12 kilograms, a body length of about 70 to 85 centimeters, and a tail length of about 25 centimeters, they are much smaller than other prominent predators such as lions, hyenas, and cheetahs. But that small size is an advantage. They can hide easily, move quickly, and survive in arid places where the strong have nothing left to hunt. The biggest feature in the morphology of this species is the black strip of hair running along the back, standing out against the pale yellow background of the whole body. Not only a biological aesthetic factor, this color can help them blend into the environment of scrub forests and dry grasslands, acting as an effective camouflage. The black-backed jackal's sensory system is extremely developed. Large ears help to pick up high-frequency sound waves from insects or small animals hiding under thick grass. Their eyes are able to adapt to low light, optimal for their active lifestyle at dusk and dawn. And their sense of smell, like all members of the canid family, plays a major role in locating prey, recognizing other members of the species, and marking territory. One of the outstanding social characteristics of the black-backed jackal is its lifelong pair life model. Unlike many carnivores that live alone or in large packs, male and female jackals choose a mate and then bond together for a long time to build a territory, raise young, and defend against outside threats. A pair of jackals' territory can be anywhere from 2 to 6 square kilometers, marked with urine and feces, and heavily defended through vocalizations and threatening behavior. If necessary, they will fight, although rarely, to maintain their territory. When the breeding season arrives, usually at the end of the dry season, the female will dig a burrow or take advantage of abandoned rock cavities as a place to give birth. A litter of 3 to 6 pups averages 9 to 10 days, and they start eating solid prey after about 3 to 4 weeks. During this period, both parents take turns hunting, retrieving prey, and even hiding food reserves near the burrow in case of emergency. Interestingly, the young from the previous litter do not leave immediately, but stay behind to help care for the younger ones. This behavior is called cooperative breeding, a rare form of family cooperation in the canid family, indicating a high level of socialization in this species. The black-backed jackal is not a specialized predator. It is an opportunistic omnivore, using its flexibility and environment to determine its menu. During the dry season, it mainly eats mice, bush rabbits, ground birds, insects, reptiles, and even fallen fruit and carrion. When given the opportunity, it does not hesitate to attack young birds or small antelopes that have strayed from the herd. Its intelligence is evident in its ability to hunt in pairs. In large hunts, such as taking a young gazelle, one animal will act as a warning and chase, forcing the prey to run in a calculated direction where the other is lying in wait. This is a basic form of cooperative hunting, but it is very carefully calculated, a rare skill in small animals. They also regularly keep an eye out for larger predators, especially cheetahs and hyenas. When these animals leave the scene or leave part of their prey behind, jackals will quickly approach, taking advantage of the opportunity to collect the remaining food. In some cases, they will even threaten or feign attack to distract them, take their share, and then retreat before they are retaliated. Late afternoon covers the Masai Mara grasslands like a heavy silken scarf. The sunlight dyes the dust clouds a golden yellow, reflecting the grass with a fiery orange. In the distance, the insects of the rainy season begin to chirp among the lush green acacia bushes, a silent symphony signaling the approach of darkness. On a high mound, hidden in the arid valley, is a family of 3 leopard cubs, now nearly grown. They lie crouched under the reeds, surrounding their prize after a quick chase, a young gazelle. The hunt was successful thanks to the strategy of dividing the pack and their own speed. Their mother, the female leopard Saba, stood guard at the edge of the clearing. Her sharp eyes never left the shifting shadows under the trees. Although she had won, she knew this prize might not last forever. From the east, 4 slender silhouettes moved quickly across the edge of the grass. It was a group of black-backed jackals, 2 adults and 2 cubs learning to hunt for themselves. Not a sound, not a bark, just a flash of light and a movement as soft as the wind between the rocks. They had picked up the scent of blood and the faint tearing of flesh, signs of an unfinished meal. For a family of black-backed jackals, such an opportunity was too great to pass up. But neither was it an indiscriminate attack. The 2 adults split up. One followed the thorn bushes to observe. The other followed closely from the opposite direction, taking advantage of the twilight that blurred the movements in the grass. In a flash, the jackals have taken most of the remaining meat, dragging it into the bush, leaving the cubs standing silently watching, their golden eyes gleaming in the twilight, a mixture of curiosity and youthful anger. For the black-backed jackal, victory is not about strength or direct attacks. Their victories come from patience, coordination, understanding their opponents, and exploiting every loophole in nature's biological rhythms. They know when to hide, when to reveal themselves. They know when an attack is necessary, and when a retreat will protect the family. In a life on the savannah, where speed, strength and presence are often celebrated, the black-backed jackal lives the opposite way. Silent but effective, wise but not timid. As the sun finally sets behind the hills, the savannah is a silent purple. In the distance, the herd of wildebeests began to move towards the water. The cubs licked the blood from their muzzles, looking up at their mother, learning another lesson that was not in their instincts, about the limits of strength. In the grass, 4 jackals were sharing the meat, without fighting, without arguing. It was a reward not only for courage, but also for patience and strategy. In a world where survival is not reserved for the big ones, there are victories that do not require roars, but come from silent footsteps in the grass. The Masai Mara grasslands, a vast and legendary land of Kenya, where natural spectacles are majestic and dramatic. Every year, millions of wildebeest make the Great Migration, crossing the dangerous Mara River in search of new pastures. This journey is not only a survival challenge for the wildebeest, but also opens up a sumptuous feast for predators and scavengers. Among them, vultures play an indispensable role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. As herds of wildebeest rush across the Mara River, many unlucky animals die, their bodies floating on the water or washing up on the shore. These corpses become a rich source of food for scavengers, especially vultures. With their sharp eyesight, vultures can detect carcasses from a distance and quickly fly in to take advantage of this food source. They often gather in large flocks around carcasses, creating a typical sight on the African savanna. The biological characteristics of vultures allow them to adapt perfectly to the role of natural cleaners. The vulture's stomach is highly acidic, strong enough to kill most disease-causing bacteria such as cholera, anthrax or rabies, allowing them to consume decomposing meat without health problems. In addition, the vulture's naked head and neck help prevent bacteria and food particles from sticking to its feathers, keeping its body clean after eating. In the crisp golden afternoon sun on the Tsavo Plains, 3 spotted hyenas were still enjoying their unexpected reward, the carcass of an old elephant that had just fallen from old age. A gentle wind blew through the sparse bushes, blowing red sand into the air, while on the ground, the crunching sound of teeth and bones filled the air like a silent song of survival. They ate slowly, because here, at this moment, there were no lions, no cheetahs, and no other opponents strong enough to challenge the control of the 3 hyenas. The oldest female, her fur mottled with scars from previous battles, was sinking her teeth into the elephant's thigh, while the 2 younger ones shared the soft belly and front shoulders. This was one of the rare moments when they could eat in peace, unstalked, unchased. But then the sky began to change. In the distance, dark shadows circled. First just a few, then dozens. Wings spread wide. A wheezing sound drifted down from the air. The vultures had spotted the feast, and they weren't there to watch. Within minutes, the ground around the elephant carcass was a black, undulating patch of ground dotted with dozens of white-backed vultures, Ruppel's vultures, and even a few large bald vultures. They didn't dive in immediately, but instead formed an arc, keeping their distance, but their eyes followed the hyena's every move, not fearfully, but patiently and calculatingly. A young hyena spotted them and snarled, darting in pursuit of a group of vultures that had just landed. Wings flapped, sidestepped, but a few seconds later they landed closer. The experienced birds knew. They just had to wait. Then the moment came. As one of the three hyenas left his meal to rest in the bushes nearby, an old vulture swooped down on the elephant's torn belly. It used its curved beak to grab the soft flesh, pull it out, and swallow it whole. Another quickly followed. Then 3, 4, 5. A wave of birds swept across the land, jostling, screaming, flapping their wings in chaos. The remaining two hyenas reacted immediately, roaring and charging, trying to drive the vultures away. But there were too many. Each was surrounded by vultures from all sides, their wings fanning the sand, their beaks darting like small, determined spears. One hyena was pecked in the leg, startled and retreating. The other spun helplessly in a sea of feathers and shrill cries. Minutes later, the order was reversed. Three hyenas stood panting a few meters away from the elephant carcass, watching helplessly as the vultures snatched at the meat. The air was filled with dust and flying feathers, as if a small storm had just passed. The vultures jostled and fought, their pecking sounds echoing incessantly, and every now and then one would raise its head, its beak red with blood, staring defiantly at the hyenas. Today, they did not win. The last three hyenas retreated into the afternoon shadows, quietly observing. The battle was bloodless, but full of loss. It was an old lesson in the Kenyan grasslands, where no one can keep their food forever. In the blazing sun of the Kenyan grasslands, where not a single tree canopy was enough to block the stifling heat of midday, a pack of African wild dogs began their hunting tactics in broad daylight. While most other predators, such as lions and cheetahs, choose the dawn or dusk to attack, the wild dogs are a rare exception. They choose the bright light of day as their ally. Each individual, with its mottled coat like patches of oil paint, moves silently through the tall grass. Despite the high temperatures, the wild dogs seem unaffected. Their superior circulatory system and ability to dissipate heat, thanks to their large ears and efficient heat exchange rate, allow them to remain resilient in conditions where other species retreat to the shade. Today, the pack of 12 wild dogs, led by a dominant male and female pair, moves ahead at a short distance, surveying the terrain and the distant herd of prey. They have spotted their target, a small herd of gazelle resting near a clump of low bushes. The individuals in the pack quickly deploy their attack. There are no roars, no signs of haste, just soft steps and calculating eyes. The species' daytime hunting strategy depends on 3 factors: speed, coordination, and endurance. Unlike cheetahs, which charge at their prey in a lightning sprint, African wild dogs deploy their forces to close in on their prey, then force them apart. They do not need absolute surprise, but rather endurance and organization. The first 3 wild dogs approach from the windward side to avoid detection. 2 others move from the flanks, forming a horseshoe shape. When the distance is less than 50 meters, the leader suddenly lets out a short cry, the starting signal. The whole pack charges in unison. The gazelles panic and flee, but as planned, 3 individuals in the pack are separated. The persistent wild dogs give chase, not by sheer speed, but by their ability to run long distances, a chase that lasts for kilometers. There was no chaos or fighting. The African wild dogs displayed an uncanny discipline. The alpha pair fed first, then the older or injured ones, and finally the younger ones. They were not mere predators, but rather organized creatures with a clear social order. However, the day was not without its dangers. A few vultures had begun circling overhead. In the distance, a group of hyenas were moving towards them, drawn by the scent of fresh blood in the hot air. But the African wild dogs were not about to give up their spoils. If the pack was large enough, they could hold their own against the hyenas, especially when the hunt was successful and every bit of meat was used. The mealtimes were short. Lunch in the Kenyan grasslands was never safe. But in the bright sunlight, under the vast blue sky, the sight of a pack of African wild dogs enjoying the fruits of their labor in the daytime reveals a rare truth. There are species that choose not the dark to operate, but the light, and it is this difference that makes them survive. This is the day life of one of the most efficient predators on the planet. And even when the Kenyan savannah is at its hottest, these tactically perfect warriors continue their story of survival, not through brutality, but through solidarity and strategy.